Tonight, Ghanaian troops ready to deploy as part of an ECOWAS invasion force to restore constitutional rule in Niger.
And let me repeat, nobody in West Africa is safe. That is why I urge you to continue to be loyal to your heads of states. I urge you to continue to be loyal to ECOWAS directives and to give effect that the days that coup d'etats enjoy the support of our people are over.
I can tell you confidently, that these ECOWAS standby force troops are ready to take on all comers.
We have exclusive details from the ECOWAS Chiefs of Defense Staff meeting here in Accra.
President Ahmed Bola Tinubu of Nigeria also dispatched the former head of state, General Abdul Salami Abubakar, with the Sultan of Sokoto to go also and talk to them. They confined them to the airport. So these guys are making up, justification for their coup as they go along. And they will soon run out of excuses.
You want to stay with us for all that, plus we'll also hear from a security analyst assessing the decision by ECOWAS.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone. Now, Ghanaian troops are tonight ready to carry out the orders of President Akufo-Addo and ECOWAS to deploy on short notice into Niger as part of a sub-regional force to restore constitutional order. The Chiefs of Defense Staff of ECOWAS today wrapped up their plan of attack and are now on standby. Ghana's Defense Minister Dominic Nitiwo gave a rousing speech galvanizing the military chiefs to fully carry out the orders of your presidents.
If presidential guards in Guinea and Niger, I will use the word take hostage their president, nobody, and let me repeat, nobody in West Africa is safe. That is why I urge you to continue to be loyal to your heads of states. I urge you to continue to be loyal to ECOWAS directives and to give effect that the days that coup d'etats enjoy the support of our people are over. Yes, in democracy, people will agree to disagree. But the vast majority of our people, the vast majority of our people in West Africa do not want to be under the difficulties that we are facing today. You have the right, as men in uniform, to ask your governments for what you will need to be able to defend your nations. You have the right to ask your governments to give you the tools to defend the territorial integrities of your nations, to ensure that your nations remain peaceful. You have the right to ensure that your people choose your leaders in a free and fair manner. But the world will disagree. ECOWAS will disagree. The people of ECOWAS will disagree. When you choose, or people under you choose, to take hostage the people that your constitution gives power to.
And that's our Defense Minister, Dominic Nitiwo, there, obviously giving us a good sense of where we are as far as the ECOWAS is concerned, but also Ghana specifically playing host to this meeting today. But the ECOWAS Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security, Dr. Abdel Fattah Musa, also has been giving us some exclusive details of the troops' readiness to invade Niger and restore constitutional rule. He spoke to head of our Foreign Affairs desk, Blaise Soga.
Determination. You could see unity of purpose among our military chiefs. The chiefs of defense staff, all very determined, and they are just putting the final touches to their operational plans and then get our troops ready. This is more or less a bit like a pledging. What is the meeting? Because the concept of operation is already ready. It's ready. All the factors have been taken into account. What are the potential obstacles? How to overcome them? All these were taken into account in the planning session. Right. So this meeting is just to, refine what we have while preparing for possible intervention. And my interaction with the chiefs of defense staff, of course, of all the member states that are here, was that they are all determined.
Determined to go, and the question is when.
Not when, I'm not going to tell you, because I'm not, because that's an operational secret. When you tell them we are going to start marching tomorrow, then you give them advance notice, to defend. So we know when the military could go in. And up till now, there are diplomatic overtures from ECOWAS, from other, whaling partners and others. We are giving diplomacy maximum opportunity, to succeed. What we are saying is that if that fails, there is this other option. And this is what we are doing, and we are not letting off, despite the fake news and then the misinformation.
And I believe the fake news you're talking about is the fact that you do not have African Union support and the support from the United Nations, correct?
That is all, with the African Union, that is also fake news. Has anybody read the communique of the African Union Peace and Security Council? I was there, participated. In it, what you are hearing. Of course, when you have a situation like this, you are going to have different opinions. What matters is what comes out of the communique. So everybody should wait for the communique. And then you realize that the African Union Peace and Security Council supports all the measures being taken by ECOWAS to restore constitutional order. They've condemned it, and many of them are even calling for the suspension of Niger.
Ambassador Fattah, are you mindful of the possible implication for the sub-region? Mali, Burkina Faso have said that they would, support the Nigerian junta if you decide to go in. Are you mindful of a possibility of a full-blown war?
We are very mindful of that. And in the planning phase, all these factors were taken into account. I can tell you confidently, that these ECOWAS standby for troops are ready to take on all comers. This is what I will tell you. And that the threats or whatever by Burkina Faso, Mali, have all been taken on board.
So finally, what message do you have for the people of Ghana, some who are anxious that the region may be destabilized?
Yeah, look, fellow Ghanaians, I am a Ghanaian myself, right? So this is it. You see, we are talking about if we don't go in, if they refuse dialogue, what I would say to fellow Ghanaians is that the situation there will be worse than it is currently. There are already internal fissures that we are picking up.
Well, Blaise Soga, who did that interview, just joined me in the studio. Blaise, does this mean dialogue is now off the table?
Not completely, but looking at the disposition from the sub-regional body ECOWAS, it does appear that they are inching closer to exhausting all of the diplomatic efforts. And that's why the word they're being used by Ambassador Fattah is that there are some diplomatic overtures. And once that goes off the table, the next move will be to activate this force. And that's why the meeting here in Accra is crucial, because after tomorrow, we will know if indeed these chiefs of defense staff are indeed going ahead with the deployment. And we had Dominic Nitiwood there pointing out that the military must be loyal, those were his words, must be loyal to their heads of state, i.e. supporting the deployment of their team. But here's what we need to know, that the reason for which ECOWAS says it is adopting this approach is because Ambassador Fatal is now disclosing to us how the military regime in Niger repelled them, quote and unquote, when they extended the olive branch to engage them. He says he was part of the African Union United Nations mission that went into Niger, and when they got into the Republic of Niger, the Nigerian force declined to engage them and restricted them only to the airport. So any movement out of the airport will be deemed as a threat, and that's why they were repelled, and the reason for which we are here today.
Who is closing the door?
Probably, it could be ECOWAS.
No, it is them. Listen, just a few days back, we were planning ECOWAS AU UN mission to go and meet them. They shut the door on us, saying they are not ready to receive the mission.
You're setting about that report.
Which one?
That they shut their doors, because the word you used in your communique was that you were repelled. The mission was repelled.
Exactly.
Is that the true account of what?
That's the true account. We were going, and they said they were not ready to receive us.
Part of this mission?
I was part of it. Secondly, before even then, the chair of the ECOWAS authority, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu of Nigeria, also dispatched the former head of state, General Abdul Salami Abubakar, with the Sultan of Sokoto to go also and talk to them. They confined them to the airport. They confined them to the airport. They didn't allow them, citing so-called explosive security situation in town, which is all false. All right. So we have been extending the hand of dialogue, to them. They are rejecting it. Okay, recently they've said they are ready to talk. They say they are ready to talk, and then the next day they charge President Bazoum, who has been under their confinement as a hostage, charging him with a high treason. Somebody that you've arrested, kept in detention for how many weeks, is now that you are finding high treason against him. So these guys are making up justifications for their coup as they go along, and they will soon run out of excuses.
But then the key question remains, Blessed, whether ECOWAS can afford this. Can Ghana afford this? We got a picture of this, of what this might cost us. When
$2.3 billion US.
A lot. I mean, that is if you have the 500,000, permanent standby force, and then there is also the forces on demand option, which is what they're deploying, costing $360 million, $30 million a month, $7.5 million a week, over $1 million a day. The question has been asked, who is going to fund this? There's a suggestion that foreign interests, France, US, and other European countries are urging us to go and they want to put in money.
ECOWAS is denying that claim. They claim that this exercise is fully being sponsored and supported by the sub-regional body. And Ambassador Fatal continues to point out that those who are pushing the anti-West sentiment are rather the ones stoking the tension by drawing in superpowers such as the Wagner Group, which works one way or the other with the Russian government.
There is a lot of fake news, around, right? This is like ECOWAS is being used. Did France or the US or anybody script our protocols for us?
Do we have the capacity to go in fully?
We have the capacity to go in. That's number one. Number two, what baffles me is that those who are talking about ECOWAS being teleguided by the West are those who are also promoting Russia. We are in a multipolar environment, and we are running around from the frying pan to the fire. Leave the Americans, leave the French, now the Russians are the saviors.
They're not receiving funds from the West, from the French or anything?
We are not receiving nothing, zero. We are not receiving anything. The heads of state have said we are going into Niger, if need be, with our own resources.
Well, there's a final meeting tomorrow. What are we to expect?
So after the meeting, just as we understand, this is a more or less a dedication meeting just to reaffirm the fact that they will be going in, but we'll get to know about the fine details. Because of security reasons, the timelines will not necessarily be disclosed, but we will at the end of the day get a sense of the level of readiness for ECOWAS to go into the Republic of Niger. And Joy News definitely will be there to bring some updates.
Let's bring in the ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee in Parliament, Samuel Kudeta Blakwa, who's joining me right now. You know their position on this matter is that they're opposed to any form of military intervention. I also want to bring in right now Colonel Festus Abwaji, who is author, conflict and security analyst, also consultant on UN-AU joint planning for AU peace support operations. Colonel, thanks for your time here on Top Story. So the plan appears to be ready. As you've just heard there, they are ready to deploy on short notice. This is what you said the chiefs are capable of doing, and appears they've done so.
No, they haven't done so. Okay, thanks for having me. This planning is only half of a day today, and then continues tomorrow. See, what Ambassador Fattah said in his address and media intervention is that they have the concept. They are now going to plan. So you now need to marry the plan, the structure of the force in detail, because they are now accepting or confirming pledges from member states. Then you have a force structure. So you have the capabilities, you have the numbers. Then you work out the budget. You see, it is only then that you know the actual cost. Before the plan is finalized, everything else is maybe a guesstimate. So that's one point of the what do you call it, the argument. But I'm also trying to suggest that, granted that ECOWAS has deliberately chosen the strategy of strategic ambiguity, it does appear that it is leaning too much towards the other end of the use of force. You see, so in clear terms, in conflict resolution terms, ECOWAS has taken a position. Then the CNSP, the National Council for Safeguarding the Homeland, has also taken a position. What is happening now is that there is a stalemate. You see, then we come to the question of Western or other support. I would have wished, because from where I am, ECOWAS has a peace fund. Now, we as citizens of ECOWAS need to know how much we have generated in the peace fund. The peace fund is structured into 3 windows: window 1, window 2, window 3. It's only window 3 that is used for this kind of intervention. How much do we have in it? And are we going to now behave like the Ashantis and say that we are going to war? All member states must now be levied an extra contribution to support this war effort. You know, so far there are a few or some things that are not clear, and that opacity is not helping the discourse.
I mean,
how much is this operation going to cost ECOWAS?
So
where is the money going to come from? Because if you say that the leaders say if need be, what does that need be mean?
Your analysis concludes that we aren't at least ready as far as the planning is concerned. So how much do you read into the pronouncements today by Dominic Netewa, Defense Minister, and Abdul Fattah himself when they say we are ready? And of course, they won't tell you when, but we are ready. How much are you reading into that? They're using the words ready, but your analysis suggests that in terms of actual planning and getting the point of deployment, we are far off.
Evans, going by the Oxford Dictionary definition of ready, we are not ready. You see, technically, procedurally, after this meeting, there has to be an agreement that is called contribution agreement. So all the member states who are now going to provide X, Y, Z times whatever, we need to sign an agreement with ECOWAS. For ECOWAS to commit to say that I'm going to pay you upfront or pay the ECOWAS standby force mechanism, this intervention, let's say, is scenario 4, scenario 5. Scenario 4 is a complex peace operation. In fact, this one is an enforcement action. The Chapter 7 one that he discounted, that is where it falls. Scenario 6 will be that scenario which is like Rwanda's genocide. That is not what we are having here. Because not a single person has died in Niger. So we are squarely within scenario 5. That requires that the troops must be ready in 90 days. You see what I mean? And that each contributing country will support its contribution for the 90 days. And then ECOWAS will reimburse. So all said and done, ECOWAS must tell us, look, we've come so far into this democratization enterprise. We need to know how much it is going to cost us and where the money is going to come from. Otherwise, then we'll work with the conspiracy theory. Because it is open knowledge that some telephone calls had been exchanged between Western leaders and Abuja. That is a fact.
But he's categorical that hasn't happened, and they are going alone.
No, of course, you don't expect any such leader. And senior as he is, the Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security at the ECOWAS Commission, we don't expect him to come and say that so-and-so leader, so-and-so whatever, called so-and-so leader in ECOWAS. We don't expect that. But the calls have been made, gestures have been offered, and our countries are taking position. The Lusophone countries, Guinea-Bissau, Cape Verde, says that we are not going to be part of it. So it's now an Anglophone, Francophone matter. In the next few days, maybe we'll hear that one or two others are saying that, okay, we now withdraw, we're not going to participate directly at that kind of stuff. The numbers also matter. I mean, countries like, with due respect to them, the Gambia and Sierra Leone, yes, they have pledged, but how much are they going to contribute? And I'm suggesting that in military terms, if you contribute a company, that company cannot operate independently. So you now need to affiliate that company to another national contingent. You see, all of these calculations are being worked out. The plan itself is not ready.
So
the way he made his statement, the plan will include what I call the obstacles that we call the risks and the freedoms.
Well, I heard him today say they've considered the risk as well.
They will tell them that we can go to Niger per this plan A, plan B, plan C. Plan A will follow this and that risk, so and so and so. And the political leaders need to accept those risks. Look, it goes as far as to estimate the percentage of casualties to the military forces. And in military operations, anything beyond 15% of the force dying is not acceptable. So let's put politics aside and let's now come to the nitty-gritty of how such campaigns are planned.
I mean, can you put this down?
I want to talk.
Yeah, can you put this down to saber rattling?
Well, then we need to go back to the point that Ambassador Fattah has made that I agree with him. The point of the strategic ambiguity. But you see, in strategic ambiguity terms, when you sound too jingoistic, then you are trying to cloud out, the other end, which, revolves around diplomacy. You see, and already we all accept that. ECOWAS modeled that from the word go.
But he disagrees. It gives it gives us an insight into what happened when they attempted to negotiate. I mean, this revelation today that they actually got into Niger and they were, for lack of a better expression, restricted or detained on the tarmac and not allowed into town with the excuse that there is an intense security operation happening and they had to fly back. He says that is the real reason why the diplomacy hasn't moved along.
No, that is where the challenge is. Normatively and in practical terms, you cannot say that you have wanted to talk to somebody for a period of 2 weeks. The person has not given you, received you, accepted you, and therefore that is the end of diplomacy. I don't think that we can work with those timelines. So that argument that we have tried, Niger has not accepted. Look, didn't the clergy from Nigeria go to convey ECOWAS's message? Didn't the Prime Minister, of Niger, acting as a track one actor, track one is government official, respond to the visit by the Chadian president, Déby? So negotiations are going on. The fact that you have not achieved what your desires are, i.e. the release of Bazoum and his restoration or reinstallation to office, doesn't mean diplomacy has not worked. You may say that it is facing challenges, and then that one will be acceptable. You see, but to me, that is not even the biggest argument. I listened to him very carefully when he spoke at Birmingham. That value of ECOWAS, accession to political power through unconstitutional means. I've been pointing out, and I'm taking pains to point out, that this intervention is not a good cause. It's not a just cause. Because 4 of the heads of states acceded to power through unconstitutional means. So 4 non-democrats who violated their own constitutions and violated ECOWAS's core fundamental values and principles cannot turn around and say that they are going to Niger to restore democracy. It's not a just cause. A just cause is one that is based on principle, and indeed I have had occasion to say that war is immoral. So there's a moral argument about any war, any campaign. And when you go into Niger, as our lawyers say, he who comes with equity must come with clean hands. And those going to Niger don't have clean hands. Some of them don't have clean hands. So let's focus more on the diplomatic option, which in practice will mean that there is likely to be some exit plan involving a composite civilian military administration that then transitions to elections with or without constitutional reforms. And then there is a new president.
Well, Colonel Festus Abaji, thank you very much. And on the day when we had a lot of rousing, galvanizing speeches from both Defense Minister and the ECOWAS chiefs as he addressed the security chiefs from the SAP region. We are looking forward to tomorrow when this will close, and we expect to communicate from the chiefs of defense staff from ECOWAS on this. Each day takes us closer to the brink of an invasion, or as we've heard from the Junta Alliance, Burkina Faso, Mali, coming together to issue a statement, what they say to be a declaration of war on those 3 countries, including Niger. We watch this very, very closely and bring you the updates as and when we get it. Colonel Festus Abaji, thank you very much. And I want to hear from you, 055-1111-997. Do you support any military intervention in Niger involving Ghanaian troops? Let me hear from you. News Night in a minute.